Hello and welcome to today's Leadership Satsang. I'm your leadership coach, Yukti Mendirata, thanking you to join the Q&A session of this month, where you ask a question and I do my best to answer it so that I can help you overcome whatever challenges you're facing in your life right now. But before we do that, we will do what we always do, and that is to be here in the now, in the present moment completely. I hope you've already started bringing this in your life, and this has now become like your practice. Is that true? Give me practice in the chat if that's true. If this is already your practice to take a few deep breaths in, to chant if possible, so that you can be in every moment as much as possible. Because the more we are in the present, the more we enjoy the experiences of life, isn't it? And unfortunately, whether we realize it or not, we are a little bit more in the past or the future. Now, all these things might sound theoretical to someone who hasn't yet got the flavor of these practices, but once you get a taste of it, is when you see the power of it. And I know for a fact that my tribe, you all, have already experienced the power of being more mindful. And you are, in fact, bringing in a lot of mindful moments and experiences in your life. Is that true? Give me true in the comments if that's true for you. And I hope it is. With that, let's get into the practice right away together. We're going to chant Om 5 times, for which we'll ensure that the spine is straight and the shoulders are relaxed. Close your eyes. Let's forget about everything else and everyone else and every other thought that might come to your mind. And as you close your eyes, don't force for anything to be pushed out of your mind space. Just be an observer to what's happening, keeping your focus on the chant. And as you chant, we will focus on breathing. So let's take a few deep breaths in and then we'll start the chant together. Take a nice deep breath in, please. And breathe out. Adjust yourself if you need to. Make sure your spine is straight. Relax your shoulders. Relax your face. Relax your forehead. Your facial muscles. Relax every part of your body slowly. Quickly scan and see if there is any stress, any tension anywhere. Just let it go. Let it go. See if you can bring a gentle smile on your face. And take another beautiful breath in. And breathe out. And with the next breath, we'll chant Om 5 times together. Let's breathe in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And whenever you're ready, gently rub your palms together and place them on your eyes, on your face, on your neck, shoulders, your entire body, and slowly come back. Let's come back, and tell me that you're here 100%. And let me know which part of the world you're connecting from today. And you may also want to tell me how are you feeling after this beautiful, deep, universal chant. How are you feeling in this moment? Let's have some comments in the section there so I can know where you are right now. How are you feeling in this moment? And as you do that, let me pull out a few questions that were left unanswered last time. We had some lag, so I couldn't see questions as they were coming in, and I realized later that there were two very interesting questions that were asked, and I thought, let me take this opportunity to cover them first. And while I do that, feel free to put out your questions today, what's on your mind, and we will probably bring that in as episodes in the weeks to come, or we can take it up as a Q&A if time doesn't allow today, the next month. But please do keep your questions coming in so that they're out of your system and let them come into my space. And then together we'll find a way to overcome all of these challenges. As I've always said, facing a challenge is good news. Facing a challenge is a testimony of growth. So if you're facing challenges, that's a good sign, right? Getting stuck with it, letting it ball you, letting it pull you down, that's not necessary. And that's the reason why one should look out for mentors and coaches in life. It just becomes so much easier to deal with all these challenges when you have that support by your side, when you have somebody who's invested in you, in your growth, right? And so I think if I were to really look back into my life, I would love to have brought in many more mentors than I had. I would have loved to bring them in much early on in my life, and maybe I would have been at a different place. Like, I absolutely enjoy where I am and how life has turned out to be. But honestly, if there is anything I would like to do better, if I could go back in time, it would be to have more mentors, to have a coach by my side. Because with that kind of support, life becomes easier, growth becomes faster. So thank you so much for choosing me as your coach and connecting with me for all these leadership satsangs. And I think if there's one question, very interesting one that was asked last time, was what keeps me going to bring out these satsang sessions for you week after week. We've crossed way over 100 episodes already, and I've lost the count. I'm not really looking at the episode number of today as well, or even otherwise. But yes, it's been quite a long journey. When I started leadership satsang sessions, I didn't have any target in mind that, okay, let me start this and I should go to like 100 or 50 or 200 or whatever. I just started these sessions because I thought that I have something to say. And there are a few people out there who might benefit from it, who might be interested to listen to this, who might find it useful, and they might find meaning in bringing all of this to life, bringing it into their practice. And that's how the journey started. We called it Leadership Satsang because one of the participants in my webinar once mentioned in the final sharing, I was conducting a webinar on spiritual leadership. And by the end of the session, I was kind of going around the room checking with people how they're feeling. And she said that, this session actually felt like a leadership satsang. And I just loved that. It stayed with me because it just gives out the essence of what I intend to share and bring out in people. So I thought this is a great opportunity to use, that label that I got from my webinars and really put it out as a platform where you can expect something coming in for you every week, where there is a level of commitment. And honestly, I feel that once we commit to something, rest everything becomes much easier. It's just on a roll after that. You don't have to struggle with it. You don't have to push yourself too much. In fact, to be honest, I quite look forward to Tuesdays. I look forward to these weekly catch-ups we have. And it's surprising, it amazes me as well that we haven't repeated a single topic in all these weeks. I think that's amazing. And again, that's not a deliberate effort. It's not as if we've been looking at all the topics and ensuring that we're not covering this and we're struggling to find more things to talk about. Absolutely not. It just comes in so easy at the start of the month to think about what are the four topics I want to touch upon this month. And that's what it is. That's how it is. We would just kind of put it out as discussions, and you would be so kind as to attend the sessions, participate, give your comments, and a validation of the fact that we're still headed in the right direction, and it is still a useful platform, and it is still making sense to you. So that's how the journey has been. Um, yeah, I'm aware that coaches will charge for every minute that they spend sharing what they know, and I'm a coach as well, and I also do charge for my time. And I think I'm quite reasonable when it comes to that, even to myself, and make sure that I do justice to my time and all the knowledge and experience I bring to the table. But then a part of me also knows that my core value is service, and by putting out these satsang sessions, I'm just living by my core value. So this is pure service. This is just my small contribution in your life, and a way for me to connect with you all and stay connected, hear you out, and understand, your perspective as much as I'm always excited and humbled to share mine. So that's the long answer to your short question on what keeps me going week after week over 100 episodes, and not charge and share so much for free. I think it is just a form of service, and I hope you take it that way, and I hope it is serving you in some way. Yeah, so thank you for asking me that question. There's another question that we couldn't pick up last time, and that's on work life balance. So the question is, all the drama in office and politics and whatever else is making it more challenging to keep that personal and professional front. So, how can we keep a more healthy work life balance? I think this is one question that remains a question forever. It has been a question pre COVID, during COVID, after COVID. Now, I don't know if there is something called as after COVID or post COVID, because COVID seems to be back in another form and shape. And maybe it is something that we learn to live with, just as how we've learned to live with a hybrid format, isn't it? We all, like all offices, most of the corporates have an arrangement of a few online and a few offline days. In fact, even in my business, we have certain interventions that are online, certain interventions that are completely offline, and then there is a mix where we'll have a few online sessions, and then once a quarter there is an offline catch up. So I think this is going to stay. This is how it's going to be, a hybrid world where there is no clear demarcation between workspace, office space, even literally, even physically. Like a part of your house, or a corner somewhere there is devoted to work, isn't it? Give me yes in the comments if that's true for you. I definitely have a work table, because sometimes you're taking up sessions from home. And that's how life is. When you want to work from home, you need to have a little peaceful corner from where you can connect and focus on your work. And after the laptop is shut, you turn around and you've just stepped into your personal space, your me time, your family time. Now, putting it this way might feel like oversimplification, that, oh, it's very simple. In front of the laptop, you are in office, you turn around, switch off the laptop, and you're not in office anymore. Doesn't work that way, because the phone keeps ringing, the emails keep buzzing, and people keep expecting you to keep showing up. So how do we really get to that state where we feel that there is some sense around what I'm doing, some level of balance between work and life? Now, as much as the question has been a question for a long time, some part of the answer also remains valid and meaningful even today. And that starts by knowing that work life balance means different things to different people. Right? It's definitely not about dividing the number of hours in a day equally between being in office and out of office, or being at home and not at home. It's not a quantifiable formula or method that can validate the presence of work life balance. It's about how you experience balance. Honestly, balance is a very personal experience. When you lack balance, you would know better than anybody else pointing out and showing it to you. And at the same time, when people think that there is not enough balance in your life, you might think otherwise. You might disagree because somewhere within you might feel that you're striking the balance quite well. It's it's a very internal feeling. It's an experience that you have. And then there are days when you experience it strongly, and then there are days when that experience is totally missing. Is it making sense? Just give me MS in the comments, please, if this is making sense and you're understanding what I'm trying to share here. It's not one formula. Forget formula. It's not even one definition of balance. Balance means different things to different people. Having said that, what we are actually looking for when we say work life balance is to learn how to set boundaries. That is the real question behind this question. When you say, how do I keep balance between work and life? What you're actually asking, perhaps, is how to set boundaries. Where can I say that work ends here and my family needs focus from here on, or I need focus from here on, or whatever else needs focus, but it's not work? Because work is a part of life, it's not all that life is. But with the number of hours that goes into working, especially if you're working from home, because the lines are so blurred when you're working from home, you just don't know how to switch off. And because you don't switch off, sometimes for a very, very long time, it causes a burnout. And with that frustration, either you've already harmed yourself at a physical, mental, emotional level, or you are desperate to find another option, hoping that this experience will not be repeated. But you know what? It's probably not as much the organization as our own attitude towards work and life. I know you might not accept it immediately as I make this statement, but hang on there, okay? Just hang in and listen to what I'm saying here and allow it to kind of go in a little bit before you accept or reject. Like, let's just see if this can go one level down as I say, it's not so much about the organization we serve. It's a lot to do with our attitude towards both work and life. Maybe, just maybe, we are not allowing ourselves to sit back. We are not allowing ourselves to even consider breaks, right? And then we make an assumption that, you know what, I'm not going to get one. I'm not going to get any vacation in this company. I won't be able to take that 5 minute breather that everybody says will help me be more productive. Well, that might be true sometimes, but is it really true all the time? Is it true that if you take a vacation, your company will collapse without you? Because my guess is it was working pretty well before you joined, and there is a very high probability of the company surviving even after you quit, isn't it? And you could be the CEO of the company, and still it's true. Because a company is a formation of a group that is focused on the same goal. It's a group of people. It's not any one individual alone. No matter how indispensable you might think you are in the system, you are just a part of the system. And if I may add, a small part of the big system. So let's have that humility to accept it. Because you know what? With that acceptance, there'll be a lot of liberation that follows. You will liberate yourself from this, how do I say, the bonding that you have created with work, which has made every other relationship so fragile, so loose, that there is no depth in it, there is no intensity in it, because you just think that this is where you belong. This is where you have to keep proving yourself. If you are not here, then you're nowhere. So, how about taking a little backseat and allowing yourself some vacation time, some break time in between meetings, some courage to question the number of meetings that you are invited for and you must attend? Maybe bring in a little more structure. There's an ABC of meetings that I often bring out in discussions in my workshops, because meetings have to make sense, right? So to make sense of meetings, we need to follow the ABC. A is agenda. Have an agenda. Without agenda, there is no meeting. I never attend a meeting and never have if the agenda was not spelled out much in advance, because it just doesn't make sense to figure out what we want to talk about when we are there. right? If it's important, it has to be spelled out and followed. Of course, that's not even a separate point, it's the same point. The B is to take breaks in between. You know, that 5 minute breather, then the coffee is probably placed on the table, just kind of letting that time be a little relaxed time where you allow everybody to grab their coffee. For those 5 minutes in after your 1.5 hours of deep discussion, bring in a little ease, right? Relax your mind. If possible, get up from your chair, walk around the room a little bit, and then settle back in and continue your discussion. And C is to be concise. Be concise. Come to the point quickly. Don't beat around the bush and don't allow anyone else to do that either. There is a role called as timekeeper in meetings. Now, you can announce one person to be a timekeeper, or you could just make that as part of your culture to say if somebody over talks, and let that somebody be anybody, then somebody else in the room should be able to say, time out, right? And give that little soft, subtle, gentle reminder for people to come to the point. Being concise is a very important trait for any leader to develop, by the way, right? Your words should be treated as golden words. You should be very mindful of how long it takes for you to say what you want to say. Can you just come to the point? And if you can, you'll realize that meetings can also be wound up in just 5 minutes. And I have met people who actually plan 5 minutes meetings. And let me tell you, they're far more productive than many other 50 minutes and 2 hour meetings that I have witnessed. It's not about the number of minutes spent in the meeting. It's about the focus that you bring in into that discussion, the preparation that happens before that, the follow-up that happens after that, and the honesty with which people come in during the meeting. That's what matters. And if you're able to save time there, you have no idea how much more time you will get to finish the real stuff, what's really important, what's being discussed in the meetings. Actually happens when you're out of that space, isn't it? Right? So you be the one who leads that change before you come in with another excuse saying, oh, you know what, but it's not me, my boss, and my boss is this and my boss is that. Well, I have seen change being catalyzed and initiated at various different levels in the pyramid, in the corporate pyramid. It's not always from the top. In fact, if I may say, it's rarely from the top. So no matter where you are in this pyramid, just take that onus, this responsibility to bring in the ABC into your meetings. Save that time and take it back home with you. Take those breaks, take those vacations, plan it early on. Maybe at the start of the year. Again, a few people I know very closely who do exactly that for many, many years. In December, they plan what the next year's Jan to December calendar is going to look like. First thing they take out of that calendar is their family vacations and me time. With whatever else is left, they learn what needs to be learned to make the most of it and be as productive as possible. And you know what? They'll end up doing a lot more than many others who are just showing up for work with half the energy, like 30% battery. You're already drained out early morning. Your phone is 100% charged, but you're not. Like, how ridiculous is that? Can you imagine that, right? We make sure that we charge our phone overnight so that it's 100% available to us. But we just don't care to charge ourselves up. We're just waiting for someone to plug us into some power supply, whereas that power lies within, because it takes that courage from within to say, I need to take this break. I need to go for the vacation. You need to have that sense of security, right? If you are somebody who's dealing with a lot of insecurity, you will just never be able to say this because you will think that if I'm not inside, I am out of mind, I'm gone, I'm finished. If that's how you're feeling, then maybe we've not understood or realized our own value. And if we haven't, then how can we expect anyone else to see that in us, to find us valuable if we can't find any value in ourselves? These are real questions to ask. Now, if it sounds too profound, too utopian or philosophical, I don't care, because you know what? When we are not ready to bring things into life, we conveniently call it as philosophy and keep it aside. But if this is philosophy, it is our life's philosophy. And we need to understand that to be able to make more sense of life, isn't it? Work-life balance is about understanding what work and what life means to you, how ready you are to show up for both. How willing are you to prepare to get the best of both? How well can you set boundaries? How willing are you to upskill yourself to get more from less time spent on things? How much sense of security can you bring within yourself instead of seeking validation from outside or endlessly proving yourself to people? These are the real questions that will give you your answer of how you can strike your work life balance. How will you create that meaning, that sense of meaning between your personal and your professional life? I hope I'm compelling you to think, because I really don't want to give you one answer. There is no one answer to this. I'm giving you a direction in which you should be thinking, the kind of questions you should be asking yourself, and then show that integrity to answer these questions to yourself silently. And as those answers show up, it'll show you the way. It'll show you the way to create that balance. And you know what? Without balance, life is very difficult to enjoy. Very difficult. Recently, we celebrated Yoga Day. And I talked so much about balance on Yoga Day. There was a session I took on yogic leadership. And I talked about how yoga teaches us so many important leadership principles. And one of them is balance. You cannot perform any asana in yoga if you're not able to keep that balance. And the same holds true in any aspect of life or leadership. Well, with that, I think that's all the time that we have. And I am sincerely hoping that as the session ends, you would continue to sit where you are and ponder over the questions, this discussion. Allow yourself to go just a level deeper before you move on to the next thing and see what's opening up. Maybe a lot will start resolving on its own as we allow it to get its space, as we allow ourselves to just be. On that note, we sign off for today. Thank you so much once again for joining in. And I'm going to see you next week with another important insight in the space of leadership and spirituality. Please feel free to put out your questions to me either in comments here or write to me at yukti@sbyacademy.com. I would love to know what are the things that I can help you with, and we will make sure that together we find a way out. Right? Thank you once again. Till I see you next, take very good care of yourself. God bless you.